Donna, thank you so much for joining me, my coworker. It is so wonderful to always talk with someone else who loves KRC as much as I do. However, I know that not everyone knows as much about KRC as we do since we're kind of in it. So, what can you tell us about what we do?
KRC is a nonprofit environmental legal services organization, and we provide legal and technical assistance to low income individuals, community groups, and local governments. And the thing that's so important about what KRC does is, usually legal services are prohibitively expensive for low income people or community groups because legal services cost, hundreds of dollars an hour. And so what KRC does is provide those services at no cost. And of course, our mission is to protect the built and natural environment of the state. And the way we do that is trying to defend the environment against abuse and neglect, and defend people from being affected negatively and being unable to do anything about it.
That's why I wanted to join KRC. It is specifically for that. I think KRC provides such a unique service
Mm-hmm.
and that we want to do the proactive work of keeping our environment clean, but we know emergencies happen and we know sometimes the justice system is needed to help
Mm-hmm.
us keep our environment clean. And I just am always so inspired by our clients, by
Mm-hmm.
our legal team who kind of pick up the banner to take on these cases, because ultimately when people do that, they're not just protecting their section of Kentucky. They're really establishing important legal precedents to keep all of Kentucky's water clean, all of Kentucky's air clean. And they're more often than not protecting not just their home, but maybe an entire neighborhood or maybe an entire region, because
Mm-hmm.
we know when our resources are abused, it trickles downstream and downhill and downwind.
That's right. Well, and environmental issues such as air pollution, water pollution, the siting of pollution generating industrial facilities, all of that seems to disproportionately affect low income and minority communities. And so in order to try to protect those people, they need to have an avenue. They need to have someone who can look out for them and provide a very detailed, technical, and highly specific type of law practice in environmental law. And so that's what we do for people. And so it makes me very proud that those are the people we're representing. It also makes me proud to work for a group that's looking out for our state's environment. And again, I think
100%.
it's important to point out both our natural environment, which we've done lots of work on, and we can get into some of that later. But also, I think people lose sight of, say, urban environments, that certain pockets and neighborhoods in urban environments um, are exposed to a lot more air pollution and industrial chemicals. And so, by us working with those communities, which we've done a lot of in Louisville especially, that really helps us look after those people. So,
Well, so how exactly is this kind of work achieved? What programs are in place to help accomplish this?
well, we have three different programs. One is the environmental and community defense, which is basically the bulk of our work. And basically, in those cases, we represent people in either judicial hearings or even in administrative processes. And in fact, a lot of the time, it all starts in the administrative process. We'll get a call from someone. They think there's an issue with a polluter or something in their community and they don't even know where to start. So they'll call us and we'll start the paperwork of going through whoever oversees that particular issue on a regulatory basis. So a lot of times we'll start on an administrative basis with open records requests, getting records, just trying to define the problem. And that's something that most individuals just don't have the expertise to do on their own. So we start that. And then once we go through a certain process and we're not able to resolve things administratively, we'll represent them in litigation. And so we have a lot of cases right now. We're managing probably over 35 different litigation-related issues. And so that is the bulk of our work. You want me to go ahead and talk about some of our big cases right now?
Yeah, I would love that, please.
Okay. Well, one that's really getting a lot of attention right now is, and one we just had a hearing in front of the Federal Court of Appeals, was related to the constitutionality of the Kentucky Billboard Act. In spring of last year, a federal district judge in Western Kentucky ruled that our Billboard Act was unconstitutional. So Senate Kentucky contacted us. Our director, Fitz, filed an amicus brief or a friend of the court brief in support of the Kentucky Billboard Act and why we thought that the district court erred in their decision and why the Billboard Act is constitutional. And that appeal was heard a couple weeks ago. And so that's something we're waiting on. And it's really important. If you've driven across Kentucky, east, west, north, south, we have beautiful landscape. And we have been saved from a proliferation of billboards to be able to enjoy the scenic landscape of Kentucky. And we don't want to become a state who has billboard after billboard after billboard along their highways. Another case, we're dealing with a lot of less than 1 acre landfill issues right now. We're representing multiple communities and either trying to address problems with landfills or trying to advise local governments on agreements that would protect them and their citizens from potential issues with landfills. A lot of the small landfills, the less than 1 acre ones, are not regulated and monitored like the larger landfills. They may not require liners and they don't monitor drainage. Well, the fact is, there's a lot of things put in those small landfills that have a lot of toxins, boron and arsenic and other chemicals, and that can rainfall over time can cause those chemicals to leach out, and that will enter the water stream, the water system, and can affect drinking water. So we're representing multiple organizations on that. There's another case, again, landfill related, that we've just wrapped up. Some concerned citizens in Estill County discovered that radioactive waste had been dumped in their landfill, which obviously was illegal. And we represented those communities in coming up with an agreement to provide for monitoring of the leachate from that landfill to look out for radioactive chemicals. And so that if it's discovered that is leaking into the water system, they will have to take remediation. Those are just some of the cases we've got.
Yeah. And I mean, I can attest our legal team stays incredibly busy, working all hours to keep these issues in check. And just what's really special is I think a lot of Kentuckians don't know the work as directed by our director, Tom Fitzgerald, is accomplishing, kind of under the radar. Well, I know KRC, one of the other components is we work very, very hard during the session every year. And even though this is a short session in 2021, it has been incredibly busy. We're kind
Mhm.
of in the middle of it. What can you say about what's been done so far this year?
Okay, well, that's one of our second program is the Center for Environmental Policy. And the one of the major programs in that is just monitoring the legislative session and looking at every bill that's introduced and anything that has an effect on the environment or energy, or even that has an effect on the population we usually represent. That we will watch those. And so far, there's been over 800 bills introduced in the legislature. And we are following, well, we're following all of them, but we have taken positions on over 60 different bills that have environmental or energy impacts. One of those bills is related to the billboard issue I was talking about earlier. So while we're fighting that or trying to defend the Billboard Act in the courts, we're also taking advantage of the legislative session to support a bill that would correct the issues that the federal district court found in the Billboard Act. And so that is House Bill 386. No, that's not House Bill 386. Sorry. That is, sorry,
That's
House
okay.
Bill
Like you said,
328. Yes.
yeah, there's been hundreds of bills.
House Bill 328. And so basically, what that would do is replace the current Billboard Act and resolve any possible questions about the constitutionality. So that's one of our issues and an example of how our work complements on the community defense and the policy side. Another bill we're looking at is the House Bill 47, which is a bill related to the less than 1 acre landfills. Well, that's a bill, unfortunately, that would allow landfill operators to expand a C&D landfill beyond the 1 acre limit to a 2 acres. And that's a bill that KRC opposes, but unfortunately it passed out of committee. And we're still keeping an eye on that. And then, as I said, there's many bills we're looking at. There's another one that is being followed by a lot of environmental organizations, and that is 386, the one I referred to earlier. And that one has to do with mixing of water or effluent that is dumped into a waterway. And frankly, it's a very technical subject and bill, but the proposal would enable pollution generating facilities to dump more waste into a stream or a river. And so we are opposing that bill. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, there's other things we do on that policy side as well. We work with local governments. We've drafted some model ordinances to try to deal with the solid waste siding. And we're working on a lead ordinance for landlords. We are also looking at an environmental justice ordinance. So not only do we work at the state level and trying to promote healthy state policies to create a good environment, but we're also working with local governments there.
This is a lot of work that, KRC, a small organization, is taking on, making sure there's
Mhm.
good and smart policies so that there is a legal standing to then ensure health for Kentucky.
Right.
And of course, our environmental health has a large role to play in our physical health and also
Right.
our economic health as a state.
Right. I think what you just mentioned is really important for us to point out. Um, Environmental health, a healthy environment, is really crucial to develop a strong economy. Because if you have a lot of pollution or if you have people who are suffering from illnesses related to toxins in the environment, that's going to discourage healthy economic growth. So the two issues have to go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that people don't recognize, that a lot of times they think you have either a healthy environment or a healthy economy, but they really both have to happen together. And it's just
100%.
not us, it's our children and their
Right.
children. So,
Right. Yeah. I know my kid would probably want to live in a healthy economy in addition to a healthy environment. So,
right.
yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Well, so what are some of the ways that KRC is able to accomplish this work throughout the year? How does it have the support and the funding to do what it does now in 2021, its 37th year?
There's a lot of work to be done, obviously. And really, the biggest thing that is needed to support that work is for people to support KRC with their financial donation. We operate entirely from individual donations and foundations and grants. So the best way for people to support us is to donate money. And there's multiple ways that can be done. We, of course, have a webpage, www.kyrc.org. And when you go to that webpage, in the top right corner of the screen, there's a donate button. You can click on that, and it will take you straight to our online donation portal. And you can fill that out and donate any amount that you want and use your credit card or debit card to make that donation. Also, of course, checks are welcome, and you can make a donation by sending a check to our P.O. Box. It's P.O. Box 1070, Frankfort, Kentucky, 40602. And again, I think it's important to point out that any donation amount is welcome, whether it's $5 or $500 or $5,000. People give according to their ability, and we appreciate all donations and encourage all donations. There are a couple other ways, though, that people can donate, and one is through our planned giving program. Planned giving is when someone plans to give a gift at their end of life. And they do this in order to create a lasting legacy and to support a cause they have felt strongly about their whole lives. And so the most common way for people to give us a planned gift is to include us in their will as a beneficiary, or to include us as a beneficiary in a life insurance policy. These are both ways that individuals can leave a lasting legacy. Another giving program we have is we have an endowment. The purpose of the endowment is to grow in value. The foundation invests the money that is there, and it grows over time. And the intent is that the earnings will help support KRC over the long term. So people can make donations to that endowment. And it's particularly good to think about making donations after the 1st of July, because there is a Kentucky endowment tax credit available after the 1st of July. There's a limited window for that credit. And so if anyone's interested in doing that, it's really important for them to do that, to take advantage of that tax credit. It's important to do that early in July. Of course, you can donate to the endowment anytime, but the July timeframe is just to take advantage of the tax credit. You know, other ways to support us, we do accept volunteers. We have volunteer students helping us do legal research. We've had donors volunteer their professional services. And then recently, we asked for volunteers to help us on events. You know, during COVID time, we're unable to do the kind of events we might have done in the past. And so trying to educate people like we are today, we can do that in an event, helps us, you know, get our message out and educate people on what we're doing.
Well, Donna, thanks so much about talking about KRC's general awesomeness. Anything else you want to say before we head out today?
I would encourage anyone to visit our website, email us. We're available and can answer questions, and would love to talk to you. If you want to learn more about us, please email me at donna@kyrc.org. And we can try to set up a one-on-one meeting with you through Zoom and further explore what KRC does.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Amy.